Hello friends, this is Chandra from Akulmac Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. Today, we have been joined by very eminent leader of the industry, DCF Ventures CEO Lakshmi Putluri. She has been well known in the industry. She is also well known as an angel investor and also former co-founder of Jibong. Welcome to the show, Lakshmi.
Hi, CK. Thank you for having me on the show.
It is our pleasure, Lakshmi. In fact, today is day 15 and the entire India is under lockdown. In fact, many countries globally are under lockdown. What is the kind of impact you see in your neighborhood and your community that might have caused some sort of problems or issues with the people?
Okay, I wouldn't say necessarily problems or issues, but obviously there is, complete silence. You can, imagine it almost seems like, the place has come to a standstill. So that is, for a city like Bombay especially, it's never happened. So that's something which is unusual. Although I'm sure, the communities are all, making the best of the situation in terms of adhering to all the guidelines, making sure social and physical distancing is practiced, and also engaging actively and making sure you spend quality time with your family members. That's one. So from a community perspective, of course, this is something unavoidable. But the good thing is, of course, I think, and we've been seeing a lot of these posts, like Bombay has seen dolphins emerge near the sea and the parks, are seeing a lot of the wildlife that's enjoying this, I think, change. So that's a good thing. And we just have to keep our fingers crossed that slowly we will, find a good balance between keeping in mind, the environment, as well as bringing our lives back onto track before this isolation and lockdown.
Lakshmi, I think Indians are by and large very innovative, and almost like 99.99% Indians are following the government guidelines. And they have been very innovative in order to follow the guidelines and also solve the problems. But having said that, that's on the personal side. There has been a little bit of a standstill situation where there are certain businesses which are not able to take any further decisions. So, do you see from your point of view any adverse sentiment which is creeping up into the business?
See, I feel like the more positive conversations are always going to be good. Absolutely. I'm sure at the back of everyone's mind, this is an ongoing thought process. There are probably, every business is going to be impacted. There is no doubt. We're talking about, 1 month of complete lockdown, and then post 1 month of lockdown, there's going to be things that have to come to normalcy. And it's a full life cycle, right? Like it's going to have ripple effect across, from top to bottom. Businesses are going to be impacted, thereby people are going to have different environment in the whole job scenario. Although I hate to use the word downsizing and layoffs, the businesses have to do certain things to survive, and that plays over at all levels, right from a restaurant that's hiring housekeeping staff. There's going to be changes, and so that is going to play on people's sentiment. And I'm sure people are trying to be very positive. Businesses are being for a month right now, I think everyone is mentally prepared, like we'll take this and we'll try to support, ensure that no one faces any serious impact. That said, no guarantees for anyone. And so yes, there is a little bit of sentiment change, and I hope that we'll be able to bring that back as soon as we can. And I think the government has done a phenomenal job already in terms of ensuring, the lockdown is well adhered to, and we do, have hope of coming out of this very quickly, even compared to some of the more so-called developed nations, as we see, are struggling dealing with COVID. So I'm waiting for things to kickstart as soon as we can, and as we, hopefully all our positive sentiments together can, help kickstart, along with the support from the government as well.
Lakshmi, you are such an experienced person. You are having 2 decades of career behind you. You're well known in the industry. Uh, from your point of view, do you have an opinion about what a government of any country, any nation should do after the lockdown is lifted in order to improve the sentiment, in order to improve the business?
So I can't speak from perspective of all nations, because every nation has a very different DNA, different kind of setup and all that. But given that right now we can talk perhaps a little bit about India as from ensuring containment. I think we are doing a phenomenal job as a country. Every citizen is playing a role. And likewise, while we do expect the government to bring in a lot more stimulus, because we've seen like the US has announced a $3 trillion stimulus, and we are 4 times larger than US, so the stimulus has to reflect that kind of a boost and a positive sentiment. And I do hope that we'll start seeing more positive stimulus and positive some policy support that we will get from the government, that will also naturally play into the business sentiment and boost the business sentiment, boost the people's emotional quotient, and on the mind space and mindset. So that's something that I cannot put a number as to what is that number that India should bring forward as a stimulus, but I am sure that they are working on something bigger and larger that is going to be announced shortly and announced soon. Apart from that, I do believe that as citizens, we all will also play a certain role. For example, encouraging a lot of the small businesses in and around. So, for example, like Singapore right now, and of course, the kind of sanitization levels there, and the kind of adherence will probably be different. But Singapore is actually encouraging people to order outside, and asking people to order outside and support restaurants and other businesses there, right? So that's something like maybe we may not choose to order outside, but there are small businesses in and around us where we should support, and right from staff in each of our immediate ecosystems, how can we support them? I think that's a small role as citizens we all should can play. And then the government will come in, and I'm very positive that they will come in and play a role which will be very positive to business, positive to small and medium enterprises, which are going to be a little bit far more hit than maybe the larger organizations.
Lakshmi, you have raised a very profound question here. So, do you see the change in business process after this lockdown situation is lifted? Do you see a new way of doing business which will emerge after this lockdown is lifted?
So the first part of question was, can you just repeat the first part? Second part I got.
So it is just one question. Will the business process will change after this lockdown?
Oh, absolutely. We've already seen it change. In fact, I'm part of a few other business, groups where, it's mixed background. Like I come from a digital background. I've seen even when I worked at IBM between 2002 to 2006, IBM was already 50% work from home at that time, right? But a lot of the businesses that don't come maybe from a tech background or come from more traditional businesses, think agri, think, energy companies, even government employees, a lot of them are just experiencing the digital transformation. They're understanding that work from home can be possible. So I think that shift, both from a transformation on the digital front, which is happening in sectors like education. Clearly, we've just seen, all the institutions are quickly ramping up to be more digitally ready. And we are also seeing many of the traditional businesses who've suddenly been dislodged, and now having meetings online. They're actually starting some of the more essential service businesses are functioning at higher productivity levels as well. And these learnings, I think, will play into how businesses will revisit what they do post-COVID. This will also help them, enhance their bottom line. Some of these learnings going digital, and optimizing this. Hopefully, that will be a very positive shift, helping businesses with some of the cash flow crunch that they might, have thought they would face.
Excellent words of wisdom, Lakshmi. In fact, I personally get a lot of value after talking to you. I think there is a clarity you as a leader, you're giving to our audience and our viewers, that there is going to be a bit of a change in the way we do things, in the way we do business, I think that is going to change forever. So I just want to tell you is that, Lakshmi Putluri, you have been a great inspiration. It was wonderful talking to you today, and I think we will find another opportunity very soon, before the lockdown is lifted, to talk to you again, to see or to take your advice on how things are in the neighborhood, any new things that are happening in the industry. It was wonderful talking to you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, CK. Very nice talking to you as well, and thank you for the opportunity. Hope all the viewers of your videos and series enjoy the series, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, friends. Welcome to Akul Mac Live, and I'm Chandrakant. The big news this week is that Reliance has decided to launch world cheapest and most feature-rich smartphone uh, pre-Diwali, and we will actually analyze. In fact, I will inform you about all the features that are expected out of this phone. Before we start that discussion, I want to tell you two things. One is that we are live right now, and whichever corner of the world you're watching this live stream, you can actually engage with us by sending your text messages. Use the text message available in your social media platform. Number two is that this video is sponsored by Performance Works International. More about them in a bit. So, friends, as you know that the Reliance has come out with the next generation, and they call their phone Reliance Jio Next. That will be very low cost, and that is really the big news. And I'll tell you exactly how it can become the cheapest smartphone with maximum amount of feature that people use today in their palm. So Jio, as you know, is a very prominent company in India, and they have many billions of multi-million people as their subscribers. All there are two major subscriber base for Jio platform. One is the mobile users who use the Jio mobile phones and Jio connections, basically using the SIM, and they can buy the mobile phone. And the number two is their broadband services, and all these things put together, they have at least 500 million to 600 million subscribers in India, in just one country. So you can see that their captive customer base is huge. And last year, Google and Reliance actually announced the partnership that they will actually roll out the very high-tech new phone. And now the announcement in the latest AGM has been made by none other than Mr. Mukesh Ambani himself, where he said that he will be launching the most feature-rich mobile phone on Jio platform, and it will be the cheapest mobile phone that you can have, with all the smartphone 4G features which are enabled into this one. Now, this mobile phone will be called as Reliance Jio Next, and as the name suggests, it will have the next generation features, because Google has developed a special variant of Android, and it will have a variant of Android 11, which will be specially written for Jio platform. Now, some of the features which we are talking about right now are basically the multiple language support. So it will have a multilingual support, and that is very important for India, because there are so many languages spoken in India with different variety of people, and therefore the multilingual aspect and 4G networking
with all the features of Android, latest features of Android that you have. You can download an app, you can create an app, you can, you do whatever you want to do, video calling, making a video, use the mobile phone as a camera. By the way, this mobile phone will have 8 megapixel camera in the front and 12 megapixel camera in the back. So it's fairly good quality. I mean, whenever a user use this kind of a camera and output on 4G platform, especially using the Jio network, it will have at least 80 to 100 Mbps kind of speed that you can expect. So it's a fairly good quality of video you can shoot, and also go live, do live streaming. So all of these features, plus it will also will have augmented reality features. And when we talk about augmented reality, it is something that is very, very useful for conveying your idea. Suppose you are promoting something and you want to convey your idea, or you want to basically use certain diagrams to train people. So this phone will support augmented reality, where you can pull in various character, and say for example, if you're training your students on motor using augmented reality features, using this mobile phone, you can actually display those internal parts of working. So when somebody opens a picture, you can actually show that rotor moving. So it creates things like that. And using the AR, which is augmented reality, there is a lot of opportunities for gamers, a lot of opportunities for educationists, a lot of opportunities for schools to leverage these features and reach out. So I think this whole mobile phone will be very, very feature rich, and it will be launched after a month. It will have a Snapdragon chip. So I think there has been a delay also announced by Reliance. I think delay is because of availability of the chip itself. But I think there are a lot of things happening here. The Shakti chip has been already launched in India, which is an Indian product and very, very suitable for mobile telephones. So I think a lot of things may be happening in order to bring down the price, and Google is putting their might and muscle behind it to roll out the latest version of Android on these mobile devices, which means a lot. The target is to immediately convert up to 50 million subscribers. 50 million subscribers in the first tranche itself. So I think this mobile will be a great success because of this large telecom operator launching this in the right manner. So I'm sure this is going to create a big churn in the market, and it will be a game changer, or it will create a new set of competition in the market, especially Indian market, and also the global market, where all these features that we use today in our expensive mobile phone are available at a very low cost. And let's talk about the cost. When you talk about the cost, this mobile phone will be available there are two variants which are being talked about. One is having 2 GB RAM, and other one will have 3 GB RAM, and the variety of hard disk space, etc. Along with all of these, you will also get the Jio features. So you will have a Jio calling features, you will also have Jio video conferencing features, you will have Jio storage, which comes as part of the Jio connection that you buy. So the mobile will, even if it has 16 GB hard disk space on your on board, you will still need, you will have the free space on the cloud, Jio cloud, available as part of your connection. So you can actually choose whatever type of connection you need in terms of space utilization, and you can just take this mobile. The cost of a cheaper variant will be 3,000 rupees, and the higher variant will be 5,000 rupees. So actually the cheapest mobile today with these specifications is at least 10,000 rupees today in the market. So it is the half the price of the cheapest smartphone available right now in India. And if you look at $1,000 mobile phone that Samsung has launched or iPhone has launched, this will do pretty much everything that an expensive mobile phone can do. And therefore, the expensive mobile phone will have to move further in the value chain. In fact, I covered about satellite telephony being available in iPhone, because that is really the upper end of the market. But in the consumer market, in the retail segment, you use your mobile phone to communicate, to do WhatsApp messages, to make some videos, and to access websites, etc. All of that can be done at a reasonable cost of $30 to about $40 with this mobile phone. 3,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees in India. However, it will be still cheaper to own, because we've also heard that the Reliance Jio is in conversation with various banks, and where they are financing being provided. So far, I think the mobile is not launched in the market. It will be launched pre-Diwali. But once it is launched, you just have to pay $10 to own this mobile and a connection to back it up. So for a $10, you can actually get a smartphone, world's latest smartphone with Android 11 loaded on it, with augmented reality and all plethora of Android features, available in your palm. And this is going to happen just after a month. So I think this is a game changer. This is definitely going to create disruption in the market, because all the lower segment, the lowest segment, are also coming from Chinese. This mobile phone, which is made in India, backed by Google with all the latest Google features, will be even cheaper than the Chinese mobile phone. So I think 50 million target for consumers is just the start. The mobile can be very, very popular among all other countries, because most of the people across the world, they just use mobile to do these basic 10 things, and this mobile will be able to do it absolutely well at such a low cost. Just $10 and you have access. Just take a package, a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan from Reliance Jio, and you're good to go. You don't have to buy very expensive mobile phone as a communication device to do what you're doing today using your $1,000 phone today, like iPhone and all that. So all of us can migrate to a low-end but smart device with all the features. So friends, before I go, I like to say big thanks to Performance Works International from UK. They are actually helping us to produce these kind of informative videos. And now I'll end this video with a message from them.
This video is sponsored by Performance Works International.
Are you ready for the challenges facing the modern workplace? Recent events have taught us the importance of transformation. Businesses now face a perfect storm of challenges. No business is too big to fail, and many are too slow to succeed. Our workforce is changing fast. We're entering a new age of empowerment, and everyone can contribute. The Inner CEO reveals how we can all play a part in making leading at all levels a reality. Written by Jeremy Blaine, an expert on business transformation and growth, it provides a roadmap to help everyone unleash their inner CEO and contribute beyond their job role, whatever their level. Traditionally, strategy has been owned by the few. Now it's time for the many to contribute. Leadership must come from a broader base. Everyone has the potential to step up and make things happen. It's a new model of collective and collaborative leadership which unleashes the power of people, enabled by appropriate technology and a supportive management structure. The book provides a roadmap for a bold new age of empowerment. Supported by a range of resources, the book provides a toolkit to help anyone unleash their inner CEO. Organisation health, development and growth is owned at all levels. Are you ready to unleash the inner CEO?
Good morning, friends. This is January 1st of the new year, which is 2022. So from all of us from Akulmac, we want to wish everyone, every viewer, a very, very happy and prosperous new year. So moving on, I think we talk about prosperity and we must talk about the tech world, what is going on in the technology, especially in India. You know that India is being promoted as one of the major manufacturing destination for the global business, and as part of this initiative the Indian government has directed the Apple to start manufacturing, to increase their manufacturing investment in India. Currently, or let's talk about 2021. In 2021, Apple India generated a turnover of $3 billion, a substantial amount. $3 billion is not a small amount, it's a very big amount. And year on year, if you keep making this kind of profits from Indian people by selling their product, I think it's about time that Indian government takes some action. And this is exactly what has happened. Indian government has directed Apple to increase their base by investing up to $10 billion to start manufacturing their products out of India. And the second direction is to have manufacturing worth $50 billion in next couple of years. So this is something which is very, very interesting. Apple products are acclaimed worldwide, and they produce some of the best mobile devices, personal laptops and other devices which are accepted by most of the professionals by and large. In fact, all the high-end activity, even people like painters and all that, they have moved on to iPad for painting their paintings, etc., because their stylus and everything is so sensitive. And a lot of musicians have moved on to Apple platform to produce using different applications on Apple platform to produce music. So I think the acceptance of Apple is very, very high. Their closest competition is Samsung. They have already invested in India big time to start manufacturing mobile devices and other units, other things which they produce out of India. So it's about time that the Apple must also do that. And when Apple like company is making so much profit from Indian people by selling their products, I think it's about time to also give some benefits to Indian people. So I think, keep in mind, there will be investment from Apple of up to the extent of $10 billion in terms of boosting the manufacturing of Apple products, and Apple will have to produce all the products worth about $50 billion in next couple of years. I think this is something which is very, very interesting, because this is also going to strengthen the India initiative of Make in India. And as you know, friends, that the government of India is pushing very hard to get the Indian new chip being rolled out from India in next 18 to 24 months. So this is going to be yet another milestone by asking Apple to start producing in India, because overall the chip manufacturing or the high-tech IT manufacturing will get a boost because of this. Samsung is already doing that. Now Apple will start doing it, and in next 24 months time we will see an Indian chip being rolled out from Indian manufacturers. So this is interesting. I think let's keep a watch on what happens next, and I will once again like to wish you a very, very happy new year before signing off, and I'll meet you tomorrow again in Akulmac Live.
friends, this is Chandra from Augmented Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. Today I have been joined by Mr. Swapnil Deshmukh, who's the CEO and founding managing director of Researca Consulting. He joins us today from Mumbai. Welcome to the show, Swapnil.
Hi Chandra, glad to be here. It's interesting. Everything's locked down, and but everything's still working. Work is working, business is working. Interesting thing.
So, Swapnil, how does this lockdown is treating you so far? I know you are at home, but I'm sure you're working. You must have called a lot of people today. You must be speaking to your colleagues and employee. How does it look like in Mumbai?
Yeah. Uh, Everybody's adjusted to the whole lockdown situation now. It's probably on Sunday and Monday. It was a bit of a jerky reaction. Now people are getting used to the new system, new ways of communication, new ways of grocery shopping, new ways of staying at home and working while managing their kids or family at the same time. New ways of interaction between society members. So people have been developing new systems and processes, which is very interesting to see how they evolve.
So, in your place, in your society, are people following the government norms of maintaining social distance, or you have some challenges there?
More or less, they are. There have been some vigorous debates. So debates happen quite a bit on WhatsApp, but finally, whatever comes as a consensus or a majority view, uh, we have been seeing that people do follow. So, for example, someone wanted to go out for a walk. He is a diabetic patient and he has to exercise and he's used to walking. He doesn't have exercise equipment at home. The clubhouse is closed, and someone took a photograph of him at 6 o'clock or some 6:30 in the morning and said that well, walking is not fine. And then we had a discussion, and we discussed. I also told my Singapore experience where I lived through the SARS crisis, and Singapore has a citizen army, and it was they have to be people of the fighting age have to be in a fighting condition. So it was very interesting to see how people kept fit. They have the battalion number, so they scheduled coming out at 2 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock at night to come and exercise and maintain social isolation. So we had a discussion, and then we kind of decided that okay, we know that certain people in the society are patients of a certain kind, and so at least other people will not go and walk around because of that. Otherwise, a broken window inspires everybody else to go further and say, if he's doing it, why can't I do it? And people don't know the reason. So it evolves through vigorous debate. So debates sometimes get heated, but I think it's really good. We are argumentative Indians after all, but it all works out in the end.
So it is working as per the government norms, and your society has been able to create certain norms and certain procedures to follow those norms.
Yes.
Very nice, Swapnil. I think you guys as a group has implemented that, uh, the government norms and even the need of the hour to ensure that there is a social distancing between each one of us. Any suggestions you would like to make for people who are still not maintaining social distances?
I think in we did find in one instance, for example, a few teenagers were breaking, and they're probably young. They have not seen such serious situations. Maybe not even 10% as it gets to serious situations in their life. This is once in a century kind of a situation. Uh, and then we had to counsel them. Their parents had to counsel them. Uh, it was uh, uh, the thing is, it's very difficult to understand the impact of this till you see something bad happening very close to you. And in our case also, in uh, society building, couple of 100 meters from us, we found that there was a corona patient, and at that time the municipal corporation came and literally washed down the entire society in chemicals, and the gates were locked, and nobody was allowed to get out or in of the gate. And I think that was the first time people actually realized that this problem is not so far, it's not in the news, it's right outside them. It's just a couple of neighbors down the line. And once I think that realization comes, I don't think it really goes away. You really understand, you probably escaped death by not shaking hands with that person today. You did not know that that person had come from a place where he or she got infected with corona. And I hope that is not what everybody has to go through, but sometimes stories of uh, such nature uh, get you to kind of realize that seriousness. And we I think the entire society had that when we saw that society, we like people wearing those CDC, the Center of Disease Control kind of clothes, and with big sprays and cleaning everything, and wow, this is real. So
Yeah, I think this issue that has happened this time, uh, I'm sure is going to change the way the people work across the globe, not only in India.
yeah.
In fact, when you're talking about the patient in the next door society, there were two suspects in my block itself.
Oh, oh my God.
And, but they were actually following the government norms of 14 days of home isolation. So they are fine. They have been tested
Right,
negative, but they are
right,
continuing with that. And the
right.
spray in our society happened yesterday. So I think in my opinion, it is not going to go away. I think it will change the world order. It will change the way we do things. And I'm sure you, as a senior executive, must be thinking what to do next, because I think you got your social responsibility, you got your commercial responsibility, you got employees with you. So I think the new change will emerge out of this issue. What is your
Yes.
opinion?
Uh, I think a lot of changes will happen, and it might look a little harsh at this time to use the word opportunity, but I think as an entrepreneur or as a businessman, uh, you cannot hesitate from thinking that way, uh, even in times of crisis, because end of the day, that kind of thinking helps you create services or products, ideas, which end of the day benefit somebody who is affected by this crisis. So it's while there is charity going on and all other kind of things going on, as a businessman, one should be as hawkish, though not take advantage of people's situations, weaknesses, but their situations are opportunities to, I think, help them and serve them. In this case, for example, many people are sometimes resistant to technology tools. They pick up the phone and talk, and which is where deep work doesn't happen. They keep on disturbing each other, and now it's just not possible to disturb, right? Because I cannot disturb my employee cannot disturb me, because both of us know that we have our family members at home. So using alternative tools other than phone calls is is paramount and kind of forced. But if one uses this as an opportunity to use those tools, it will help in the long term to have remote working, have distributed teams, where people have more patience in checking emails or WhatsApp messages or dealing with each other, which will end of the day help deeper work and productivity of people. So similarly, for example, as simple as gathering information. Previously, in our society, we have a society manager employed, and he would just pick up the phone and he would ask, "Oh, so how many people? So what is happening in on individual members on the intercom?" now he's himself not there. And we had the situation that we had to comply with the municipal corporation's instruction that we should know in every house who's staying and when they came and did they have international travel and stuff like that. And I usually did not get involved in the management committee's activity because for my personal reasons I've been a little away from that. And I saw they were facing this problem and they were discussing. And it took me 10 minutes to create a Google form and then send the link to everybody. And within 24 hours, the link spread and every tenant and every owner's data was there. And now I had the secretary calling me, can you send me that data? So it's an opportunity, it just keeps on happening. I think we should look at the next phase and keep thinking solutions as businessmen, as entrepreneurs, as innovators. That is our contribution to the society, and one should not think that only doing charity or only the other things are our contribution. This is our contribution. When this all gets over, we are going to build things from whatever it's there, and we will have to create a new world. The old world will not exist, and we have to take that initiative. Even though right now it looks a little hawkish and opportunistic thinking, it's okay.
Excellent, Swapnil. I think this is the third day today. We've got 18 more today. Basically 18 more days to go in the lockdown situation. So I'll catch up with you after a few days to check whether there has been change beyond what you have explained today, or what has happened in your place in Mumbai. Until then, I say bye to you for today, but I'll catch up with you in a few more days.
Yeah, nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Hello friends, this is Akul Mac Live and I am Chandrakant. Today morning I received an email from a management consultant, very experienced management consultant with 20 years of experience, and this gentleman is asking for a job. I've gone through his profile and I'm really confused because that today's context, the type of client that we find and the type of business we are in is not what this management consultant has done. And therefore, that made me to think, what is the possibility of management consulting business today, how they should reinvent to stay relevant. And to have this discussion, I will be joined by a very, very senior personality from UK, who himself has been a very, very popular figure in the business. So friends, I'll join back along with my guest after a few promotional messages. Don't go anywhere. This is just a short break. Friends, have you ever wondered that making a lasting impression online is similar to landing on the moon? If yes, we have a solution for you. Akul Mac Genius program will help you prepare for your upwards trajectory towards success in the digital world. Our program consists of 12 unique tailor-made sessions of 1 hour each, spread over 6 weeks. Akul Mac Genius program provide you practical knowledge about how to optimally use online video platform with lights, action, camera, as well as crash course in using virtual screens. The program also includes a session on the grooming and online etiquettes, which are important for running your online sessions and webinars. At the end of the program, our participants would be allowed to make their own videos, which will be published on a very popular business channel called Akul Mac Live. This will provide global recognition to all our participants. If you like what you hear, then using the link in the description below, join the program straight away or visit www.akulmac.com. Welcome back, friends, and today we have a very interesting topic to discuss. It's about management consulting, and to discuss this we have a very distinguished guest in our studio, Mr. Naval Gund. Welcome to the show, Naval. How are you today?
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I'm feeling great. It's a beautiful sunny day today. It's middle of the week, So the rest of the week is downhill, isn't it? A hump day or something? Isn't that what the Australians call it?
Of course. But, we have just finished our share of a huge deluge of rain. And we are just, enjoying the little sunshine that we are getting right now.
Well, plants need rain, and now the sunshine's coming to dry them up. So just like consulting, we used to have lots of consulting companies pre-COVID, but is the model bust? Have consultants, the big consultants, have they had their day? What do you think?
Well, Neville, I think that I worked for corporates where these consulting companies were hired to guide the corporate in the right direction, to find the new path, to find the new businesses. How do you find new clients, new type of clients, etc. So, we know all these top 5 companies. We don't have to take the name, but they used to bring their Bible, these thick, tested, tried models, 8x8. And they say that, hey, if you implement this, you are going to make millions. Your turnover will double in next 3 years or 5 years. The challenge that I see right now is that since those old models are tested, tried models for last 100 years, and the COVID has changed the whole business scenario so drastically, my confusion is that will those models still work in today's concept?
Well, it's a really good question. And if you recall, I wrote a book just over a year ago now with a good friend of mine called John Giomeni. And we entitled the book, Can You Handle the Truth? And a big question mark. And the reality of life is these models were bust some time ago. So even when I had a proper job like you did, when I was working in corporate life, we used to get these consultants to come in, the big 4, as now big 5 or 6 maybe, and they would come in and literally interview all the staff and then put a beautiful review together and tell the board exactly what the staff have recommended, in essence. Not much different from that. And then they said, well, we'll help you implement it. And they charged a fortune, even for the smallest of corporates. They were investing in millions of dollars worth of investment. The question I always had was, does it work? And of course, it probably would work if they implemented everything the members of staff, the employees, were suggesting they did. But these consulting groups have an unusual way of twisting things slightly so that it wasn't quite what you thought you'd suggested to them. And consequently, they never work because who's implementing them? You are. Very rarely do you see a wholesale change in an organization, in other words, people leaving, when you're implementing change. You tend to find you've got more consultants than you've ever had in the past, like little army of ants that are crawling all over the place and trying to help you succeed. Now, I don't think that they're trying to make you fail. I mean, that's number one. But are they making you succeed? And I think COVID now is challenging even more than it did in the past. But it's challenging all of those organizations to say, so how have you succeeded over that period? How have you survived? What was it in the organization that made you get through it and be where you are today? And when your organizations start to ask those questions and see actually how good they are, and some of these are small companies and some of these are huge companies, but they've got through a storm. This wasn't a storm that could be predicted. This wasn't on the weather map. There was always the zombie virus that people were talking about, the millennium bug. You remember that? 2000, what's going to happen when the clocks suddenly turn to the 2000 agenda as opposed to a 1999. And not a lot's happened in those arenas. But you couldn't plan for this really. But you needed to it needed to happen when you're on your feet. So this is about how robust have your people been? How robust have your systems been? You know, we hear about cybersecurity infiltrating the arena, but fundamentally, the best form of cybersecurity is having smart people. Not opening that email that looks like it's come from Coca-Cola, but actually it's got Coca-Cola1.com. Well, that's not a Coca-Cola address. There's someone that's been very smart. So I think where we are is we're in this, are we in this no man's land? I think we are. What do you think? Do you think we're in this no man's land where people are saying, can we put the old models back? Can we bring in our previous consultants to help us through this period? Now we're coming into, we've survived, but now we want to look at growth. Will they automatically go for their consultancy model and bring in people that have helped them in the past? I think these are big questions. I'd be interested to know what you think.
Well, Neville, I think this idea triggered today morning when I got an email from a friend of mine, and he said that his friend is looking for a management consulting role. Do you have some leads? And that got me thinking, because even if we hire this management consultant, what he's going to do for us? We have to really, even to interview this person, we should have right questions. So I was not sure what to reply, and that made me to start thinking about big fours and big fives. They used to come with a strategy saying that, hey, if you fire so many people in 3 years, you will double your revenue. Your share price will zoom. And that is what they used to do. Actually, you fire a lot of people, give them a golden handshake and let them go, and over 3 years it's a no-brainer. Your share price will improve, the CEO will make his incentives and move on. So that used to be the plan in those days. That plan is not going to work now, because everybody has moved on. There is nobody to fire. So how do you steer the company in the right direction? So that is why my question today, Neville, I don't think the old book or Bible of management consulting will work for companies of today.
So in essence, what you're saying is that the companies have been through the hardship, and then they've had to get rid of what you might call dead wood, for want of a better term. And it just so happens that the COVID crisis has probably identified a lot more dead wood in the organization than perhaps you would have thought of previously. I mean, it's an interesting arena. I mean, I always have a little smile on my face when I get that type of email, because let me just ask you, what's the role of management consultants? What do they do? Just simply, not in detail, what do they do?
Well, I think, in my opinion, please, viewers, please pardon me, because I'm going to talk what I think. These management consultants will come to your office, will interview or pretend to interview thousands of people across the board. They spend 2 months, 3 months, and they bill you for that, for interviewing and listening to your story, boring story. Hey, what happened? What didn't work? What worked? Etc. They are not doing anything with that. After 3 months over, when you have already paid $1 million to them, they will come up with their own plan, as if they have done a lot of research within their after taking your interviews, and they have come out with a very tailor-made plan. But in reality, it's the same plan. IBM would have got the same plan, CSE would have got the same plan, HP would have got the same plan from the same consulting company, and that plan is a 3-year plan. You implement this matrix 8 by 8, get rid of deadwood, and within 3 years, you'll find new clients, you'll find new revenue, your share price will double, and they will walk away with their incentive after 3 years. So I think that is what I feel personally. And my disclaimer is, it is just what I feel. I may be wrong also, but this is what I felt as a client of these big fours.
I like anything else, and this is about what you and I think here, and some of it is evidenced, and indeed, you've more or less said exactly what we said in the book, Can You Handle the Truth? because that's what they do. And the interesting thing is, do you know what? They've done it for many years and it works. But the interesting thing is there is a different way of doing it, and you could do it yourself. But like anything else, majority of companies are already exhausted their employees, and they've got more than a day job each because they're getting more for less. But I'd just like to go back to the very simple thing about what consultants do. What they do is that they take you, what you believe they will do is take you to another level, to another plane, to improve your KPIs, your profit, your loss statement, your cash flow, stabilize your balance sheet, improve your balance sheet, get you more money, whatever it is. But the point about consultants is they're, in many respects, stopping the rot, if you want to call it one thing. I call it behavioral waste, and actually taking behavioral waste out of the system and putting new processes in place. They wouldn't know what behavioral waste was, most of them, but that's in essence what they're doing. So the key thing is, when you got that email from someone who's a friend of a consultant, weren't they doing it for themselves? Why isn't this business consultant actually doing it for themselves? They're always asking, but lots of small consultancies are always asking for referrals into other organizations. And the interesting thing is, I don't want a referral in. I want to go and say, so what are you doing? How are you doing this? What are you doing about it? Because that's what they do. That's what consultants do. They ask questions. So, but they're not asking questions of themselves. Where am I getting business from? What is my core business? How am I going to grow? What processes am I adopting that are a complete waste of time? What processes should I be adopting? And I think this is the challenge, actually, of the small consultant. Because the really good ones are always employed. Always. They've got more work than they can actually take on. And the thing is about the next tier it's like boom and bust. When they're employed, it's great. When they're not employed, they're asking for referrals. They need to start asking themselves questions. What was it I did when I was fully employed? What was that client saying to me? How am I going to promote myself? Because that's how they get into the next tier and be fully employed. It really is as simple as that. I don't want to make it complicated, because it's not. It might be difficult because you've never done it before. But once you start to get into that motion, then you'll get it. Now, another thing, you and I get emails all the time from all over the place. I get a load of emails and asked to be connected on LinkedIn. What's the biggest thing on LinkedIn that you've had people offering you recently?
Well, Neville, I think the biggest thing that I hear from people is how you can sell yourself on LinkedIn.
Exactly. I almost sort of, I led you into the answer. It wasn't deliberate, but how can you improve yourself on LinkedIn? What have you got to do? So all of these LinkedIn so-called experts, and I'll say so-called because there aren't that many that are that good, because they're all following very much the similar routine. But when you meet one of them, why isn't this management consultant investing in one of them? Because the management consultant is actually asking a company to invest in them. So you can't actually say, well, you do it this way, but that's not for me, because you're telling them to do exactly what you're prepared not to do. So I always find this a fascinating arena where people say, oh, a bit down on my luck at the moment, I'm a management consultant, can you help me? Why? It's a bit like an IT expert, why do you need my help? If you're that good, you should have a string of companies out there. If you're young and new to the game, yeah, I'll help you. Absolutely not a problem. But I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to ask you some pretty tough questions. And for those listening, if you want me to ask you those questions, I just have. So listen back to what we said in this discussion, because it's about growth. It's about survival initially, and it's about growth. Have I got a business? Is it scalable? Is it just a me? Is it a cottage industry? Can I collaborate with other people? All of these questions we can ask ourselves if we're in the right mindset. And I guess it always comes down to having the right mindset. And, you know, thinking about what I've just said here about that consultant that's, you know, asking for you to help them, has that given you any thoughts about what help you're going to give them?
Well, I don't have an answer, actually. I'm don't know what to reply to him. I can't tell him, hey, there are no jobs. Even if I circulate your CV, there will be no response. I think it's a journey that the consulting companies or business consultants will have to, you know, undertake themselves and find out what is the winning mantra for them to get employed right now, because the old process is all dead. You know, you can't fire any more people. They're already gone from all organizations, and the business demands are also changed drastically. So the management consultants will have to find new ways of generating more revenue for their clients, and for that I think they have to come up with the new idea. And so far I have not seen any new idea from anyone so far.
Well, is it a new idea, or is it just knowing about the business? I mean, one thing, as many people will know, I come from the oil and gas industry. Now, we used to employ real specialists in oil and gas. And why was that? Because they knew the industry inside out. They knew that there was never 100% win. They knew, or the good ones knew, that it was a cumulative effect, a bit like compound interest. I'll get 1% here, 0.5% there, 2% over there. But they had this almost like a map in their mind of what other companies have done and how perhaps you can navigate these very different waters. Because, as you well know, despite the fact you're in the same industry, you may employ exactly the same number of people, looking as though you're doing exactly the same thing. But in reality, you're not. Because you've got a different people dynamic internally. You've got different shareholder base. You're on a different path to growth. You may be a pure punt in the arena, or maybe you're more of the stable influence. People are looking not for huge capital growth. Your investors are looking for sustainable growth, which is through the P&L as opposed to through the balance sheet. So I think there's a fantastic opportunity currently for really good, independent, or the large consultancies. They can help a company think about why are they doing what they're doing. They can help them go through a business process review. I'll now use the term BPR, because in corporate world, BPR is pretty common. But again, the reality is most organizations don't actually do a business process review more than twice in their lifetime. So when the average age of a corporate is 30 years these days, twice, once every 15 years? My goodness, that's not enough. It's not good enough. Things are changing. If you do it once every 15 years and forget that there's a digital transformation happening out there, you could be dead. So this is how fun this arena can be. And, you know, I would love to go back into the world of consult. Oh, no, I'll take that back, actually. I wouldn't love to go back into the world of consultancy. It's hard work once you get in there. But I think there's a great opportunity for the right consultants to say, here I am, this is what I'm really good at, this is what I've done for someone else in the same industry. That looks like a good company to go and address, knock on the door. That's the way you do it. Just knock on the door. You are showing that you are doing something different to everybody else. I was talking to on a business bunker the other day, and we were talking about a lot of the complaints in the world is that there aren't many jobs. Now, for those that are listening, I will say this very slowly. There are thousands of jobs. It's just that you don't know where to look for them. But if you did know where to look for them, you'd get one. Now, don't take my word for it, because I was actually talking to a person that runs a job site, one of the biggest job sites in the UK. And he said there are thousands of jobs, but people are just listing their CV online and expecting a response. We've become lazy, fundamentally, and that's where your management consultant is, I'm afraid. That email just shows me he's lazy or she's lazy. And my advice to them, if they're listening, you can send them this interview, is go and do it for yourself, because that's the only person that's actually going to make it work. Because who knows what opportunities are out there until you start to knock on the door. And the other thing is, go and find a specialist on LinkedIn. If you look at my inbox, I get 20 or 30 offers every day. We can get you 20 or 30 leads every month. You know, guaranteed 20 or 30 leads. Well, if you're a small consultancy, and the price for those leads isn't that much, actually, as long as they're good quality leads, you'd be quite surprised over time. But again, if you're going to go down that route of lead generation, it's not going to happen in a week. You have to be focused on it. But of course, the management consultant will know that, won't they, TK? They'll know that overnight successes are not instantaneous. They've never promised an overnight success. So why would they expect it from somebody else? Just a little bit of fun this morning in the world of management consultancy, or any type of consultancy, really, because the same thing applies. That given you any thoughts, CK? I've seen you smiling at parts of what I've been saying there, as touching a few nerves and perhaps delving into your history.
Well, Neville, I think you made a very good comment. That is, first, management consultant has to understand the business as it exists today, and then make a pitch. Because if he doesn't know the business, then there is no business for him also. So I think we can end our discussion today with this message that please understand the business today. Produce a pitch which works, which people buy in. And if you don't do that, then there is no work for you, actually. So I think as a management consultant, you need to reinvent like everyone else. You know, we are also reinventing ourselves. So even management consulting arena needs to reinvent himself in order to stay relevant. So Neville, thank you so much for finding time and talking about this very important subject this morning.
My pleasure, CK. Good luck, everybody, and go and knock on some doors. You never know what's available.
And before you start knocking on the doors, make sure that your pitch is right. So
Absolutely.
All right, Neville, you have a good morning and a great day today ahead, and we will catch up with you tomorrow again on something even more interesting.
Cheerio, everybody.
Hello friends, I am Kanchan from Augmented Technologies and welcome to our series, The Great Kings of India. Today we are discussing a very interesting personality of our history, Chandragupta Maurya, who established Mauryan Empire and ruled a successful era at that point of time with the help of his teacher Chanakya. We can see the economic prosperity, reform, infrastructure, development during his era. And he is one of the greatest king of Indian subcontinent. So to discuss further about his personality, his administration, his army, we would like to invite the renowned historian, Professor Meeta Joshi, who is the head of the department of one of the prestigious college in Hyderabad, St. Anne's College for Women. So without wasting any moment, I would like to invite Professor Meeta Joshi. Meeta ji, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Namaskar, Kanchan.
Namaste, Meeta ji. I'm fine. What about you? How's weather? How's everything?
Everything is fine.
So today we are discussing about Chandragupta Maurya. So let's start to know more about this great king.
I would like to start from his early life because I think we will go step by step. So, about his birth, there are many theories, but nothing is confirmed that when he was born. But the Buddhist accounts and the Jain accounts, they say that his father was the head of the Maurya clan. So now this word Maurya comes from Mora in Pali, that means peacock, and in Sanskrit Mayura. So his father was the head of the Maurya clan, and when he got killed, her mother escaped from there and reached Patliputra. There are some accounts in which they say that he was Shudra by origin, because in one of the drama written by Vishakadatta, Mudra Rakshasa, they refer to him as Vrisala. Vrisala means a Shudra, son of a Shudra. So again, there are many theories about it, but after his birth, he was raised by the people who were taking herds of cows for grazing. Now, when he grew up, he took his education in Takshila. Takshila was a very prestigious educational institution that time, and he happened to meet Chanakya. We call Chanakya as Kautilya. We called his original name was Vishnu Gupta, and Vishnu Gupta had a grudge on the Nanda king Dhanananda. So when Chandragupta Maurya met Chanakya, and then Chanakya took him as his disciple, and under his mentorship, under Chanakya's mentorship, Chandragupta Maurya learned the tricks of administration, the tricks of warfare, so many things Chanakya taught Chandragupta Maurya, and both of them, they built a large army, a huge army from various places of the region and from outside the region also, and finally they defeated the Nanda king, Dhanananda, and then Chandragupta Maurya established his kingdom, which is known as the Maurya kingdom.
So it was not. Is it a difficult for? I mean, that point of time, was it a difficult for a person who's coming from a commoner or that to a background of Shudra?
He came from a very humble background. He came from a very humble background, and then under the mentorship of Chanakya, he raised a large army, and then he defeated the Nanda king Dhanananda.
Yes, so my point is that people accepted at that point in time. There was no uprising against this commoner because generally bloodline goes on any throne. So what it was difficult for him to really become the head of the state at that point of time.
Not really, because there are in some Jain accounts and some Greek accounts, it is written that he may be the mother of Chandragupta Maurya. They say she was a concubine in the Nanda dynasty.
Okay.
And she was insulted by Dhanananda.
Okay.
That's why the mother also had the grudge upon Nanda dynasty.
Okay.
See, like mentioned, when one rises to power, then whoever you are, the main, the main thing here is power. Because he was powerful, he had a huge army. He had the backing of Chanakya. So after defeating the Nanda king Dhanananda, he established his own empire, the Maurya Empire. And the reign of time period of his empire is given from 321 to 297 BCE. Like his rule was for about 24 years.
Okay.
Now he took all the principles of statecraft and he developed the infrastructure. He brought many reforms in the kingdom and became a very, very popular king. And some of the stories of the Jain accounts in the Buddha text Mahavamsa, it is mentioned that there are some like miraculous stories. At one point of time, there is a story that when he was in the forest and he was going to wage a war, that time a wild elephant came from somewhere and the wild elephant bowed down to Chandragupta Maurya, and then that elephant, in that elephant only, Chandragupta Maurya went for his conquests. So many stories like this, like a wild tiger, a wild lion, he also came and licked him. So many stories are there about him. But the point is that he tried to expand his the boundaries of his empire by many wars and conquests. By many wars and conquests, and if you see his empire, it was from the northwestern India. Okay, most of the northwestern India up to down south, except some parts of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Odisha, because he also wanted Kalinga to be the Maurya Empire, but he could not do that. Neither him nor his son Bindusara, because Kalinga was a very powerful sovereign state that time. So he could not extend his boundaries up to Odisha and Kerala and Tamil Nadu. But it was a huge empire, very huge empire, which he administered with the help and guidance of Chanakya, because the principles of Arthashastra, which Chanakya wrote, he exercised them fully in his empire. And later, as I told you in the previous episodes, Ashoka also, Ashoka's administration was based on the principles of Arthashastra. Because Radhagupta, his minister, was the grandson of Chanakya, Vishnugupta's. So this way, Chanakya, he spread his knowledge, he imparted his knowledge, and they were able to build a huge empire. At one point of time, after Alexander's invasion in 324 BC, when actually Alexander came to India in 326 BC, and he retreated in 324 BC, and he left his Greek governors there in India. So the Greek and Roman accounts, they say that the Greek ambassador, Seleucus Nicator I, he was also like, instead of waging a war with him, he retreated and he gave his daughter in marriage alliance to Chandragupta Maurya. So that showed his power, his suzerainty. All the foreign accounts of that time, the Greek and Roman accounts, they mention Chandragupta indirectly. The name Chandragupta is not there, but his name is Sandro Potos or Andrew Potos in the ancient Greek and Latin accounts.
Okay.
Now, if you see his, as I told you, in his kingdom there was a lot of economic prosperity, reforms, and he expanded the infrastructure in a very large way. And in the seventh, the Jain inscriptions which we get of 7th to 10th centuries, we do not get the mention of Chandragupta directly, except for a 2nd century text by Roman historian Justin. Justin writes his name, Chandragupta Maurya, but in other accounts he is referred to as Sandrokotos or Andriokotos. And they have written about his glory, his rule, that how good a king he was, how powerful a king he was. That all is mentioned. But you don't get his real name, Chandragupta, there. There they have mentioned him as Sandrokotos or Androkotos. And if you see the different accounts, various Sanskrit texts and the Puranas, Arthashastra, as I told you, the Shakadatta's Mudra Rakshas, which was a play. Then Somdev's Katha Sarit Sagar, in that also is mentioned is there. Then Shenin's Brihat Katha Manjari. So at various accounts you find his name, Chandragupta Maurya the Great. Like he is narrated as a very, very powerful, nice, and a valiant warrior, because he expanded the empires to a larger extent.
Right.
It was, as I told you, almost the entire India except Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Odisha was under his rule. It's a huge empire, very huge empire. Then if we see the Jain text, in that also at many places his name is mentioned, that he was a great king. He did a lot of reforms, and one thing which I wanted to mention is he was Hindu by origin, but in later years of his life, he took Jainism.
Right.
And there is a story that one of the Jain preacher, his name was Bhadrabahu. So he told him that there was a famine of 12 years in his reign. So this Jain preacher, Bhadrabahu, told him it is because of the wars, it is because of the killings, the nature is punishing you. So that's why he went under he took the patronage of this Jain teacher at Shravanbelgola, Karnataka, and he learned about Jainism. And in the many records it is mentioned that he renounced his kingdom and became a Jain.
Yes.
And there is a hill in Karnataka which is known by his name. It is known as Chandragiri Hill.
Okay.
Because he lived there and he practiced Jainism there, and finally he became a Jain monk. So if you see this transformation from a very powerful king to a Jain monk, again it shows that somewhere in his heart he understood that all the atrocities, all the wars which he waged, so many people he killed. So that was that feeling inside his heart that made him to go to this Jain teacher Bhadrabahu at Shravanbelgola. So all these accounts about him are very, very, they are explained very, very elaborately. As I told you, Roman, Greek, Latin, in all accounts you get the mention of the Maurya kingdom. And some of the one Greek ambassador, Megasthenes, he was in his court for 4 years.
Okay.
And Megasthenes wrote a book known as Indica.
Okay.
In Indica, he has explained about Chandragupta Maurya's character, about his kingdom, about his administration, about his army. You get a huge account of Chandragupta Maurya's reign from Megasthenes' Indica. So all these travelogues, and not only Megasthenes, but many other, as I told you, Justin has mentioned his name. Plutarch has mentioned his name. So many historians, Roman and Greek historians, have mentioned and wrote about him in a very good way. That he was a very good king, and the best part of his kingdom was there. That lot of economic prosperity was there in his kingdom. So if you go to a little deep, then why economic prosperity was there? Because his administration was such that each and every person in his empire was content. They were happy. All the things in the empire were smooth. That's why there was economic prosperity in his reign. So a very, most Indian subcontinent he ruled for a period of 24 years, except as I told you, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Odisha. He ruled the entire Indian subcontinent. And to be unchallenged for such a long time period, 24 years is a long time. To be unchallenged again is a greatness. Maybe there were small outbreaks, civil wars, but nothing very major. And in one of the accounts it is mentioned that he met Alexander the Great. But if you see the time period, it differs. So again there is a dispute. There is a dispute whether he met Alexander or not. But Megasthenes, he writes in Indica that when Alexander came to India, that time Chandragupta Maurya was a young man, a very young, promising, bright man. Like that, in his account, he has mentioned about him.
So what I feel is, I think there's a lot of contribution of Chanakya also in his political establishment and economic development, because there are many stories which are connected to Chanakya and how he has propagated his political theories for kings and for somebody who is enjoying power. So I think that also we have to count, we have to take in.
It was a major factor on his personality. Chanakya had a very great influence on his personality, not only in his personality but in his kingdom also. Because as I told you, the principles mentioned in Arthashastra, if you happen to read Arthashastra, you come to know each and every designations, role, and what are the requirements. Everything is mentioned in Arthashastra. How a king should be, how a king should behave, what type of ministers he should have, and what policies they should make to keep the empire peaceful. Everything is mentioned in Arthashastra. So Chanakya was definitely a very big influence on the personality of Chandragupta Maurya and on the Mauryan Empire also. They go hand in hand. You cannot mention Chandragupta Maurya's name without Chanakya, and you cannot mention Chanakya's name without Chandragupta Maurya, because they both were very much together, and you see the influence of Chanakya on Chandragupta Maurya's life, on Chandragupta Maurya's character, in Chandragupta Maurya's empire. So everywhere it is very prominent. The teachings of Chanakya, because he was the chief advisor. Chanakya was his chief advisor. So whatever he said, he implemented. Chandragupta Maurya implemented. So this was the thing.
Yeah, so I think this is very profound personality, and we will be discussing with points, and we'll take up administration and other aspects of his empire and his personality in coming series. But today it is so wonderful to talk to you, Mitaji, and discuss
One more thing, Kanchan. When you see the Sangam literature,
Yes.
The Sangam literature, in
Yes.
that also Chandragupta Maurya's names mentioned is there.
Okay.
So you can just make out that how great a king he was.
Yes. Yes.
In two texts, his name is mentioned.
Yes.
And see, after so many years, still we are talking about him.
Yes.
And our Indian Postal Service, they commemorated stamp on Chandragupta Maurya in 2001. You get his statue in outside Indian Parliament. So his impact is there.
Yes.
Very much there.
Yes, all great kings India is still having their impact on the new generation. And if somebody wants to know about them, there are so many texts and so many pointers where they can find out. So it was so wonderful to talk to you, Mitaji, today, and we'll take up this topic further, discuss many aspects of great Chandragupta Maurya in coming series. Thank you very much, Mitaji. It was wonderful to talk to you today. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akulmac Technologies and welcome to the tip section of Top Brass. As you know friends that we give marketing tips to people, whoever wants to use it, and today we want to discuss something that we experience every day. But before we start the discussion, let me welcome my friend Mr. Naval Gund from London.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. And today's tips arena is around people on LinkedIn. There are several 100 million people now on LinkedIn, and there are probably about 3 or 4% of so-called advisors talking about how to make the most out of LinkedIn. And what we see currently is CK and I have had an influx of people coming through and saying, I would like to connect with you. But it's almost as though there's several standard phrases that are utilized within LinkedIn. One of which is, I see we have lots of mutual connections. It would be good for us to connect. Now, there are several 100 million people on LinkedIn around the world, not necessarily local to you, and people are desperately connecting with people that other people seem to be connected to. Why is that? Why would that motivate you? So we thought that a little discussion between CK and myself might just open up the idea of how to network, specifically, I suppose, on LinkedIn. So when you get people asking you to connect on LinkedIn, do you see these standard phrases, CK?
All the time, Neville. In fact, let me share my experience that I had between yesterday and today. So I got a message saying that, hey, please join my free blah blah blah, and you can get this advantage, that advantage, and all that. So I wrote to the person saying that, hey, did you ever look at my profile before sending that message? So that person was intelligent, and she said that, yeah, I've looked at your profile. I think your profile is quite good, but nevertheless, what I was offering is free, so no harm in sharing with you. All right, so that is one segment. The second one is exactly what you said, mutual connections, and I will like to explore opportunities, maybe partner with you, blah blah blah, all standard phrases. And then I said, hey, did you ever look at my website, because you seems to be so interested in me and my services? Have you seen my website? Because what you are actually offering me is selling smartly on LinkedIn. So after 1 hour, this person says, yeah, I've seen your website and you have mentioned these activities like CRM and selling and all that. And there could be a campaign designed around these services that you offer on your website through LinkedIn. So my next question was, from your intelligence, can you tell me that people are still buying these services? So then the next response was, yeah, a handful of it. Then I got really wild and I said, look, your standard pitch will not work. Please change your pitch and come back to me. So these are the recent examples of what I faced between yesterday and today.
I mean, the interesting thing is you're actually going back to these people and responding. I would love to see some statistics about how many people actually do respond and actually do connect with others. I quite often just generally accept people's connections, because I do believe that perhaps they've done a little bit of research about why they would like to connect with me. I'm just one of the several hundred million on LinkedIn. So why me? And it's a question that I go back to them, why me? Very honestly and openly. And sometimes I get well, if you don't want to connect with me, then we can block each other. And I'm thinking, well, that's an interesting response, because you asked me to connect and I'm now just asking you a very simple question. Why me? Now, is that confrontational? I don't think it is. But perhaps we need to think again. Maybe I should say, thank you so much for asking me to connect. I'd really like to know why you identified me apart from everybody else. And my answer to that is, that's just creating behavioral waste, because I can do a click and paste and put that in there, and it just takes you longer to read it. Why me? ? Is not being insulting. You made the first approach. I'm now asking, okay, why? What's going to come of this? But going back to this mutual connections, as I say, there are several hundred million people on LinkedIn, and they're all over the world. And I suppose in many respects, of the number of people that I'm actually connected to on LinkedIn, I really know very few. And that's the reality, because it's only the few people that you really want to connect with and you have a discussion with them on a reasonable amount of time, whether that's on a friendly basis or a commercial basis or a corporate basis. And it's just those people that you're going to keep in touch with. I mean, that's the natural approach that's going to be taken. So consequently, why waste your time having thousands and thousands of connections when only a few really count? Let me share some research that you've heard of Dale Carnegie Foundation, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
And they're a big leadership group around the world, probably very well known, to be honest with you. Although there are lots of leadership groups, popping up everywhere these days. But Dale Carnegie are, in many respects, quite unique, because one of the very first books that I read, almost cover to cover, was How to Win Friends and Influence People, which was written by Dale Carnegie, I believe, or maybe someone writing for him. And this is on the basis of, in there, he talked about the power of between 5 and 10 people. In other words, your relationship basis. If you've got 5 to 10 people that you have a very good relationship with, and we'll talk about relationship in a second, but a very good relationship with, that's all you ever need to grow a business. It's because it's in some respects, it's the power of one that's been written in recent years. And even now, today's research, which they do every year, says you only need 5 good relationships. And then you will be successful as a business. Sorry, I almost interrupted you. Jump in.
So, I just want to have a sort of a debate or a discussion, whatever you call it. See, in LinkedIn, I have 26,000 connections.
Wow. And you know them all personally. I know you do.
Well, I would say about 70% of them, but still 30% are still a gray area. Whether I knew them, I've forgotten, I don't know, but there are too many people in the first degree.
Yep.
And then when people send me a mutual connection request that, hey, I know so many people, the chances specifically to my case is that whoever sends me a connection request, I would see at least 500 mutual connections with that person. And that is the inherent quality of the LinkedIn network or a social media network. So my point is, when you are making these tips to our viewers saying that, hey, you need only few connections which are meaningful to you, but on the contrary, the social media works in a totally different way.
Yep.
The social media basically help you expand your network. So I think, in my opinion, since I am trying to rebut what you're trying to say, in my opinion, the thing is that you have to know exactly what is running in people's mind, and don't send this carpet bombing type of request, because all it takes, it does not take your gray matter to send a canned message, which is also drafted by LinkedIn system itself. You don't even apply your mind to whom you're sending the connection request. So I would say my suggestion would be to, there's nothing wrong in sending the connection request. It is absolutely legit. Please do increase your network, but make sure that you convey the right message, because sending a wrong message will spoil your relationship with a person who you don't even know. You're just sending out of the blue. So I think you have to do little research. You have to understand that guy's business model, and then at least send a message that, hey, I have something which you may or may not need, but at least I have done some research. So that gives a very positive feeling to the person, even though that person doesn't know you.
You're absolutely right. And interesting enough, we're not disagreeing at all, because the power of the LinkedIn network is actually demonstrating what Dale Carnegie is saying. You only really need to know 5 people, because those 5 people will know another 5, each of them. And those 5 people will know another 5. So that's how the network cascades out there. And if you've got a very strong message, and here's the key, it's the strength of the message. If you've got a very strong message that the 5 people that you're really well connected to like, believe, and are prepared to share, they will share it to the next 5. And then, dependent upon that relationship, they'll share it to the next 5. Or maybe it slips down to 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. So we're agreeing that the power of the LinkedIn network is humongous. We can always see first connections, second connections, and third connections. So there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be building your network with people that are related to others. But don't make the assumption that they know each other, because LinkedIn is a network that doesn't actually necessarily promote knowing other people. It's about networking with other people. You only get to know other people once you network with them and you send them a message and you say, hey, how about a discussion? You know, what do you do? So just like you would in a normal networking arena, you go to I'm sure you go to networking sessions. You know, pre-COVID, you and I would have gone to a few networking sessions locally or internationally. I mean, when I'm visiting, I will regularly go and meet the local Lions Club or the local Rotary Club. And I'll ask in plenty of time in advance when these clubs meet and where they meet, and if my itinerary can actually make it so that I can go to that group of people. And the reason for that is I've got fantastic experiences with the Lions clubs around the world. The one that I joined and the one that they were affiliated to. Let's call it the Lion LinkedIn network. And equally, the Rotary LinkedIn network. There are Rotary clubs all over the world. I mean, in my local area, there are 7 within about a 10-mile radius. And there are about 20 or 30 members in each of those groups, and I can go to them on a regular basis. And when you go, you talk about other people. You discuss things, what's happening in your area, you know, what's happening here, what's happening there, and you get to know people. But you've got to make that first break. So, I mean, the one message today is, if you're on LinkedIn and if you're going to grow your network, have a very clear purpose around who you're going to talk to. LinkedIn is a fantastic arena to show you lots of things up front, just like a website, without really knowing that person. And if you're going to sell, well, then sell, you know, just sell right up front. You know, I've got something that you might be interested in, but this is a selling opportunity. And it allows that person to say yes or no. Frankly, I'd much rather people say that rather than, oh, I see you're connected to a lot of people. It'd be good for us to connect with each other. And then the next email you get from them is, thanks for connecting. Here's what we do. A huge diatribe of, we're CEO experts, CTO experts, you know, whatever it is, you know, we're experts in this field. Well, that's great. I mean, but did I ask for this? You know, it's lack of respect for the person you're talking to. You wouldn't do that in a physical networking session. You know, you would walk around with your business card that just goes like a cascade of credit cards that goes, shoop, this is what we do. You know, anyone interested, you know, come and join me. You know, this is what this is for, you know, pop up, you know, an exhibition. You know, this is what we do. Come on to our stand. We're nice people. So there's ways and means of doing all these things, but LinkedIn in particular, it's supposedly a professional network. Well, let's be professional about it. Let's have a proper discussion.
So, Neville, I think I understand where you're coming from, and I fully agree with you what you're saying, because these are definitely very, very important tips and very important and critical activity that everyone should follow on LinkedIn. From my experience, I would like to say that LinkedIn is not a platform where you actually sell. You actually don't try to sell anything to anyone, because that is not going to work. And I will repeat your words, Neville. You only buy from people whom you trust. So by sending a connection request and 100 other people mutually will not build a trust on one-on-one basis. You need to spend time with that person so that the trust is built over time. And then only you can start selling. So I think the first, from my point of view, selling is totally out of the window if you're on LinkedIn. What you can explore opportunities are of collaboration. So make your pitch. I think one advice I would like to give to my viewers is the pitch has to be of collaboration rather than selling. So I think they have to put their minds together where they actually come out with a collaborative way of driving mutual benefit from mutual connections. There's no point in identifying mutual connection and try to sell to them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, CK. And this is where, I suppose, in some respects, some platforms have not been very clear with their purpose. Let's take Facebook. Let's slip away from LinkedIn for the moment. There's Facebook, which is a book of faces. I mean, that's how it started. It was a dating website, effectively, on day one. But now you've got Facebook Marketplace. So it's redefining itself. There's another part of the platform which is about selling, and it makes no bones about it. This is a place where I've got something to sell. Are you looking? It's called a marketplace. I'm not giving words to LinkedIn here, but maybe they need a LinkedIn marketplace. But you're absolutely right. The point is, this is a professional network. Keep the conversation on a professional level. Imagine you're walking into a room and this person that you're going to go and talk to is in the corner and they're just having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. They may have just got there and you see them as they're on their own. And go and have a conversation with that person. If you've identified this person, go and have a conversation. Make it real. Like anything else, as you said, CK, if someone starts to sell immediately, the little brain just switches off. I mean, it used to do that all the time with me, you know. I mean, I'm not here to be sold to.
Right.
These days, I will actually turn to someone and say, do you know what? I'm not really interested in what you've got to offer, and you're probably not interested in what I've got to offer. But let's see what we can do together. And using this word collaboration that you just said, this is about 1 + 1 is greater than 2. And that's what the LinkedIn network allows. So this 5 people you know means there's another 5 and another 5. And let's take another twist here, right? In a corporate, large organization, you may know lots of other people in lots of departments. But the reality of life is you can only manage, and I'm talking about really manage and motivate and work with about 10. And if you look in all of the best organizations around the world, they've never got more than 4 or 5 people reporting to that one person, even in a flat organization. And why is that? Because it does take a bit of time for you to get to know those 4 or 5 people, or maximum 10. In a sales team, you tend to find there's about 10 salespeople to a sales manager. And again, start thinking, well, why is that? Because actually, if a sales manager is doing their job properly, then they can only manage about 10 people. So we can take lots of similes in life, lots of metaphors that are out there, and bring them all together. And we'll come back to this LinkedIn. People buy from people they know and trust. Don't start selling. Build a relationship. You've heard me say this before, and I'm not the first person to say it, but from contact to contract is 1 letter, and it's the letter R. It's a big word, relationship. Relationship, 4 syllables. And a lot of people can't even get past the first, the relation, you know? Okay, so let's make it simple and just build the relationship. If you don't know how to do it, Google it and then practice it. Find something that you feel will work for you. Then don't find lots of other things. If you find one thing and say, oh yeah, that'll work, then go and practice. And keep practicing it until you prove it's working for you, or you prove, actually, I need something else. It's not quite working. I need to go and find something else. And then go and find something else and practice that. As they say, any practice makes permanent. It's only the right practice that makes perfect. Simple tips for today.
Yeah, Neville, I think you gave us a very nice or fine food for thought today. And I think it is affecting almost like 99% of the people. The tool is there for networking. LinkedIn is a very good professional tool. It helps you a lot because you can sit one corner of the world and you can network with another corner. But you have to know exactly what you're doing it, how you're doing it, and what is your purpose. So I think you should not waste away a tool like LinkedIn. I feel that the people who are watching this video will gain immensely after hearing your thought process and some of your advices, and then change their pitch from selling to collaboration. So I think with that, we can end our discussion today, only to catch up tomorrow, Neville.
See you tomorrow. And I hope you're just listening, folks, because it's the purpose that's important. There's lots of people telling you how to do it afterwards. Get your purpose right. It's as simple as that.
Thank you, Neville, and you have a nice day. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Good to see you, CK. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello friends, this is Akul Mac Live and I'm Chandrakant. Today we will be discussing about very important subject, especially relevant for business, which is building trust. And as you know friends, building trust is a long drawn process, and it has been made difficult because of the restrictions that we have now. We have to rely on the digital platform, and building trust is becoming such an important and critical aspect. People with lot of big network will have to find new type of clients which are available on the digital platform, and they have to build the trust all over again. So it is becoming very difficult subject, and also it's a new arena. Digital space is a new arena, and to discuss this matter we have a very distinguished personality joining us from UK to enlighten us and tell us what we can do, what are the tricks of the trade, and this is going to be very useful discussion. So stick around friends for this outstanding show. Welcome back friends, and today's guest is Mr. Mike Bradley. He joins us from UK. He is the group CSO of RHF and Scale Up Arena, and topic of our discussion is how do we build trust, especially in post-COVID era. So Mike, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon to you, Chandra. Good to speak to you. Good to see you as always.
Mike,
I'm not on a boat, by the way, just in case you wonder if I'm actually on the boat at the moment.
Well, Mike, I can imagine that because yachting is very difficult and you can't be sitting so quietly.
Exactly.
But it's a very nice background, Mike.
It is. It's called the Needles. You can see them in the distance there with the lighthouse. It's on the Isle of Wight. It's one of the main points on the Round the Island race, which is a 150-year-old sailing race that goes on once every year. Didn't happen last year because of COVID, but it's happening this coming Saturday as it happens. And I shall be observing it from a rib, which would be quite fun.
Wow, so amazing. I mean, you can see it without going to your drawing room, I think.
Yes, well, I did actually do the race once. I was on a boat in 2008. I was one of the obedient crew, like pull this rope now, So I would pull the rope and wind this, wind that, unwind that. You know, it was all good fun. But this time I'll be on a rib, which is also quite fun because you speed across the water, get to that particular point there, and then it starts with a trickle of boats coming through, and then all of a sudden there's an absolute horde of them. Because there's actually, the year I took part, there was 1,800 boats. And this, on that norm, I think the year before last, it was 1,500 boats. So it's a massive race.
So talking about being a good crew, you mentioned, I think today's subject is also very apt for taking this forward. And the subject is, how do we build trust? Because for any businessman, trust is the most important thing, and especially now because of the lockdown and quarantine, and you can't meet the people, etc. And other situations, business has moved digital, and building a trust on the digital platform is a totally different ball game. So we would like to understand first what is the importance of trust and how do we build it in today's context.
Exactly. Yes, I think. Well, it's an interesting thing because, of course, as you rightly say, you know, trust is key in every situation, whether it be a personal or a business situation. And how do we actually build that trust, not just in a personal basis, but I think also that the same trust has to be projected, whether it be a company, whether it be a service, whether it be a product, or whether it be a brand, because it's all based on how, and it's a lot of it is based on perception. So how do you ensure that people get the right perception of you and your business and your company and your product? I was reading about a trust equation called Charles Green's trust equation, which is very interesting. And they've got a little formula which looks at credibility and reliability and intimacy. Those things added together, marks out of 10, divided by the level of, shall we say, self-interest. So in other words, the more self-interested you are, the less able to gain trust you are, which I think is very, very interesting. So that sort of got me thinking, well, on a personal level, how do these things look? Also on a person-to-person level, if you're selling to a founder or a CEO, obviously you've got to convince them, but also it becomes slightly more complicated, I think, if you're looking at a team and you're trying to sell to a whole board or to a whole group, because you actually need to ensure you've built this trust with at least the majority of those people. And that can sometimes be very tricky, I believe, within a business environment, whether it be online or offline. You know, we've all, I think the days of the super slick salesperson turning up with their polished suit and tie and fast talking and, you know, trying to close you off, a bit like the timeshare salesperson. I think those days are over for the majority of people. And also, as we know, building online rapport globally is a big part of what we do these days. Now, I've been involved with online selling and promoting and working, partnering for 15 years. So to some extent, for me, that's been something I've sort of become part of my DNA, hopefully. But, you know, as with ourselves, we've never met personally, but I think we're starting to get to know each other to the point where we understand what makes the other person tick, you know, and I'm sure that when we meet, eventually it will be, I know this person pretty well, and therefore we've built that trustworthiness between us. There's a credibility, there's a reliability, there's a, you know, a degree of in trust between us, in trusting and intimacy about what we share, some elements, and also, I think we're both aware of the balance between, and there's a balance to be struck between self-interest and also the interest in somebody else. I think within a personal situation, the self-interest should be less, within a business situation, I think it needs to be balanced, frankly, because otherwise it's not true, it's not credible, because you've got your commercial objectives, I've got my commercial objectives. We have to recognize that. And I think the relationship bases itself on the fact that we both need to win. It's got to be a win-win situation, the classic partnering scenario. So that's sort of my starter for 10.
Very interesting, Mike. In fact, you rightly said that without trust, it will be very difficult to set up any transaction between businesses. And there is no shortcut, because if you don't know the person, you don't know the person. I mean, there is no choice. You have to know the person first, and that is why the trust is built. But I think now, in the current context, especially from 2019 onwards, when people are not able to travel, catch a flight and go all the way to UK and meet, or vice versa, the only method we have to build trust is this 2D screen. And I think that requires a totally different skill. And another thing that has happened is people with a lot of experience who have built a lot of big network, they are losing it now, because I think they have to build a new type of trust with new set of people all over again. I think this is a restarting. It's a reset button that the nature has pressed, and you have to start building your network again. So what are the key ingredients of building a trust in an online arena?
Well, there's an interesting question. Again, I think it's two-dimensional. There's two different types. There is the online trust in a person-to-person environment, so like between you and I, and then there's the online trust for an e-commerce platform, shall we say. So a business that's selling its product purely online still has to actually get to the trust point, otherwise people won't commercially buy it. So again, it's about ensuring that in the other person's eyes, the correct perception is being taken. So, and again, I think in the online world, in an e-commerce environment, which is where a lot of trade is now going, as we know, with SaaS products, etc., the credibility is by endorsement. So maybe that is a case study, maybe it's recommendations, maybe it's a contact, or reviews online. Hopefully they're trustworthy, so I think that is a key part of an online e-commerce experience. Reliability is vital, because of course that will affect your reviews. It's the if you say you're going to deliver it by tomorrow, deliver it. And if it's going to be late, which does happen occasionally, at least have the courtesy to communicate with people and say, there's been a delay, it's going to be tomorrow, blah, 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 which is, I suppose the classic example that we know about is Amazon. Amazon, I think, has got this pretty good by and large. And that's why they're doing such a sterling job of selling stuff to people globally, because I think they understand the online trust model. Then there's the intimacy element. How do you do that within an e-commerce environment? Well, again, I think Amazon, it's a moving ship. So see with the picture in the background, but basically, it's understanding the behavior of the buyer so that you can tailor things in a way that is of interest to them. So rather than blasting the world saying, here's a product. What you're doing is you're tailoring the audience and saying, because you bought this product, we think you'll be interested in this one. So I think that's an area where you can tweak the experience to make it more personal, to show that you actually paid some attention to what is really of interest to the client. And then, of course, it's about, you know, the self-interest element. There'd be, you know, we'd be very foolish to think that there's a personal element in Amazon. What they're actually trying to do is ensure your trust ongoing so you come back and buy something else. It is a commercial play. Yeah. There wouldn't be, you know, a time for Amazon to come along and say, oh, thank you, Mike, you bought this product, blah, 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 blah. That's not credible. It's not true. So, you know, you can dismiss it. But I think also that's the e-commerce side. On the traditional networking piece, I think this is where the dynamic becomes much more interesting. So you've got to build rapport, let's say with a board. You have to build that up online like we do here. So we build that up over time, but I think we do it by being open and honest with each other. And also being yourself. What we're not doing here in this context even is it's not like we're on television. We're not here as a newscaster just giving updates. What we're doing is we're trying to establish and build bridges. So, you know, people need to see there's a vulnerability in the human side, and we're not just robots. I think otherwise, you know, we'll all be replaced one day by an automaton saying, well, hello, how are you today, Chandra, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not going to get like that. And that's the difference between us and robots, is there isn't an emotional component that we're trying to build. There's not an emotional quotient. So I think that's where the differentiator is. And that's how you build it online, is, you know, we open up about our circumstances, our challenges with COVID maybe, or challenges with our business, and we share together and create, and we try and help each other with the challenges we face. And even better, try and help each other with the deals that we want to get, so that we all live and eat and put food on the table, roofs on our head, over our head even.
Well, I think you mentioned two very important points. One was Amazon. And, you know, when I think of Amazon, one or two things flashes my mind. One is that Amazon is such a strong, trustworthy brand that multiple layers of people are working without even thinking about it. For example, sellers are selling, buyers are buying. Then there is a whole delivery mechanism which are actually distributing to unknown people. Then this last mile delivery, that person is totally not emotional about actually delivering, like a postman. You know, postman used to be very emotional person. You know, that person will go door to door. But these guys are not emotional. They will just deliver, follow a protocol and do it. And in case you want to return your merchandise, whatever you purchased, there'll be a return process. So because of one brand which has built a trust, so many different types of activities going on without even thinking, because they totally trust the brand. But I think you also mentioned very, very important critical subject about self-interest. And when we talk about self-interest, the key issue that comes to everyone's mind, yours, or everyone in the world, even animals, is to do self-preservation. So if that is the underlying thought of self-preservation, how we can ignore self-interest when we are actually building a trust? Is there a mechanism which we can use to build a trust and ignore self-interest?
I think that comes down to being true and open, and also recognizing right from the start that everybody has to have some degree of self-interest. You know, and those people who say that they're not interested in doing things themselves, I don't believe them. So again, trustworthiness depreciates if you say, I'm not really interested in what's in it for me. Of course they are. And if they're not if they're genuinely not interested in what's in it for them, well, is that true? You know, and that credibility, again, the trust goes out the window. For me, that's like, yeah, right, sure. I'm not sure I agree with that. But I think what's important is that the whole equation around this builds confidence in each other. It's all about credibility and competence, and alongside that, competency. So if you say that you can do something, prove that you can do it. If you don't prove your competency, that affects the confidence level. That also affects the credibility of your argument or your product or your pitch, because you know it's fair to say with a new business, this is a new business, we've got this new product, and ideally, as part of that new business, you will be identifying some beta test clients who will work with you to actually refine your solution so that it's credible to others. I think one of the biggest challenges for a startup is they don't necessarily have clients. And you know, I think we discussed this before actually, where part of the key to ensuring you've got a good startup proposition is build it in conjunction with the market and the customer, because otherwise you're not going to address that competency, credibility, and competence factor, which give trust in your product and your business. You know, and I think when you get to like the scale ups that we deal with in Scale Up Arena, what we're doing there is we're saying, well, actually, you've already, to some extent, you've demonstrated your reliability and credibility. What you've now got to do is demonstrate your level of interest in the client by showing them that you supply what is important to them, because ultimately that's what they're going to want. They're going to want a solution to deliver for them. So I think in the growth company environment, credibility should be a given, and there will be endorsements, there'll be clients, etc. Reliability, well, you wouldn't have got to become a scale up or a growth company without being able to deliver to clients in a consistent way. And so therefore it's building that intimacy and giving credibility to the self-interest, such as, you know, we take your money and then we run, is not a way to build a good long-term trust within any environment. So be there, be part of the customer. And this is one of the challenges, I think, when you get from the early majority phase of the product life cycle into the late majority phase, where it becomes like a multinational product. And when it becomes a multinational product, customer service goes out the window, because actually all they're interested in, how many orders have we got today, what margin have we made today, and so the service level is just doesn't really matter, because they've got so many customers. We're too big to fail. Back to our corporate AAA syndrome we discussed in the past. You know, the arrogance sets in, the forgetting the customer, the amnesia piece, and the fact that we're so high in the clouds that we don't breathe fresh air with our customers and our staff. So, you know, I think this sort of model, this trustworthiness model, applies across all organizations, all products, all services. What are you doing to improve those elements? And many, I think, of the multinationals would do well to delegate this evaluation of the trust model to their divisions, to their customers, to their functions, to ensure that these elements are all in balance and going in the right direction.
Well, I think, in my opinion, the trust building over digital platform has become the center stage of any business development activity, whether you are a large corporation or a SME or a startup. So that requires a totally different kind of patience levels. And I think you mentioned so many different, very, very powerful points today with regard to actually building the trust. However, I think the last question I have is what are the key attributes of building the trust using a digital platform? Because here you don't have ability to measure what the other guy is thinking on the other side of the screen. At the same time, you don't see the body language, because that is also one of the important aspect of communication. So we have to rely on just the spoken words to build a relationship in this case. Do you have any opinion on this?
Yeah, well, I think this is where having an open and true discussion, and I in most cases, I think it's, again, there's a difference between building rapport between people in a network and building rapport as, say, an Amazon customer site. But it all, again, comes down to, you know, the environment of people that are around that. So I think, again, it comes down to reviewing. It comes down to, you know, which other contacts do you know? You know, you've been involved with an online discussion, maybe with other people. Are those sort of people also trustworthy, or are they the, you know, the traditional used car salesman, timeshare salesman? You know, I think the people that you see around the people on the other end tell you about the sort of person that you're dealing with. So I think you can look for signals, you can look for references, you can look at LinkedIn profiles. What sort of things are people saying? Are they people interested, or are they actually self-interested? Are they out for me, or are they actually out to try and build value and support in our world? And that, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit naive. I like to think that 80% of people actually want the best for others. And so if you go into trading relationships, personal relationships, with the view that actually this person is probably one of the 80%, you're probably more likely to build up that credibility, reliability, intimacy, and the right balance of self-interest, so that there is credibility, competence, and competency expressed, rather than being in a situation where you're not, you know, going in and thinking immediately, well, most of the people in the world are not trustworthy. If you go into it that way, I think you might just as well, you know, go and sell flowers in the local shop, because you're not going to build online relationships. You're not going to even probably build strategic partner relationships, because there's got to be a degree of trust. You know, we're all familiar with non-disclosure agreements. I always think that the day you have to bring the non-disclosure agreement out is the day that the relationship's already over, because that trust is no longer there.
Yes, Mike, I think we had a very interesting discussion. There are a lot of learnings from this discussion. I think everybody needs to build trust, and people who are experienced also with 20-30 years of experience, they still need to build trust now in the new world, which is the digital world of Industry 4.0. So thank you so much, Mike, for finding time and discussing this very critical, emotional subject, but very, very important.
Thank you, Chandra. It's been a pleasure as always, and have a good afternoon and evening.
Thank you so much, Mike, and we will catch up in the next show. Until such time, I'd like to say goodbye.
Look forward to it.
Hello, welcome to Akulmek Live. I'm Kanchan Verma, and today, the Active Monday, and today we have expert. We will be discussing about one of the aspect of public relations. So let's welcome her first. Welcome to the show, Ritu. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Kanchan. It's so nice to be back here again on your show on Monday, and I'm absolutely fine. Thank you.
Well, today is Monday and very lovely day because it's raining outside, and when it is rain, you sit down on a chair and think of an idea, right? And when we think of an idea, that means we are also want our idea should be accepted. So how we can do? Can we really do? Can we really do any propagation of idea through public relation?
Of course, we can, spread the idea among the masses. We can spread the idea among the set of people who are a target audience. And public relation is just right to do that because, in public relation, we identify the idea that has to be given to the public. Then we decide a storyline. And on that particular story, with a proper marketing strategy, we spread the idea to the people. For example, I would say there once upon a time, I'm talking about way back from mid 90s till 2010. There was an idea which was spread among the public that they should get their kids till the age of 5 years. The kids should get pulse polio drops taken every month. So there was this pulse polio campaign which was going on, and so a story was woven around the idea where Mr. Amitabh Bachchan was taken as the brand ambassador by the government of India. And he was just the right choice to let people know that why pulse polio is required, why should they give pulse polio to their kids. So because Amitabh Bachchan is a very well-known face in India, he still is a very well-known face, and people, they could relate with it. So if you have to spread an idea, you should always decide your PR campaign accordingly.
Well, definitely you have put forward a very popular campaign which was done for pulse polio. But now the question arises that once we are talking about business or any company, and if they want to start a surveys and there's an idea, so what are those pillars we can use, especially when we are talking about public relation? What are those features we should look into? And are those features and policies are critical to spread the idea? Can we do that through public relations?
Yes. Through public relations, we can spread the ideas. And it is always good that whatever idea we want to spread and to whosoever the target audience is, we should always do a research work, a complete research work. A project should be made. And accordingly, people should be given forms or they should be given some kind of situation, and where their feedback should be jotted down. And accordingly, one should decide, the organization or the company should decide the plan to move ahead. So, in PR, it's very important to do the research work, get the right feedback, and as per the feedback, then you decide, then you plan, then you formulate your policies. Because, anyone can do PR, but to be successful, to get the success, is not everyone's cup of tea. I see many people doing PR, they are doing various kind of PR, but they don't get right result and a desired result. If you really want a desired result, you must give time to the idea. You should study your idea very well, should know the plus and minus points of idea, and as for that, you should plan your PR strategy. Then you will definitely get the success.
So, now I would like to ask you, when we are talking about the services, because when we talk about services, which is most of the services are related to the masses, and masses really get benefit after it. But when we are also talking about the product, so the strategy for product idea propagation and the service idea propagation, are they different? And the different measures are taken in public relations?
Yes, spreading the idea and promoting the product among masses is slightly different, because I'll just give you one example. There was a time when in India, no one knew what vacuum cleaner is all about. So there was one particular company who started selling the vacuum cleaner. And before that, they adopted a very successful PR campaign where they focused on women, and that was the time when India gave stress on working of both the genders, men and women. That time, women empowerment was being talked about, the education of the girl was being talked about, and various government sectors would speak about equal opportunity of the education given to both boys and girls, and also making girls financially independent. So that time this company launched vacuum cleaners, and the target audience was especially the women, and they made a story where they spoke about keeping your house clean, and also that when woman is working, she does not have the time, perhaps she may not get the right help, she may not give the right kind of time to her home. So vacuum cleaners are there. You use them once in a week, but you keep your house clean for the 7 days. So it was the right story. And then later on, the vacuum cleaners was sold in this country, especially I remember in urban cities of India, in urban India. I think many households, they bought the vacuum cleaners, and that time it was a big success also. So, when you have to promote your product, you have to sell your product. And if it's a new product, you have to weave a story. Let the lifestyle of the people be connected with that product, service, or idea. So, this is the right way to reach the target audience. And when one set of the audience accepts the product, later on, the different sets of people do get connected with the product.
So, what should be the duration of this idea creation and then launching any service or product?
Kanchan, I think there should not be much difference when you are selling out the story about any product or service. You should give some time, perhaps a few weeks or something, but then the product should be launched as soon as possible, because the interest and the curiosity which you create among the masses, it also dies. As we say, the public memory is short-lived. So you should spread your story for a few weeks, but then you should launch your product also, like it's done in the Bollywood. Before the release of the movie, they create so much of interest, and after a few weeks, the movie is released. So in the same manner, you should be doing it. You should not just sit on the idea which you are giving to the people, but launch your product and services also.
So I would like to know what is, in your opinion, which you like the campaign of any story or idea which you really appreciate even today. Would you like to discuss that?
Yes, definitely. I really like, about washing machines. We in washing machines are not a new product in India. They are there. They have been there for quite, I think, more than 2 decades. So there was a time when washing machines
I was just talking about how this public relation can be in idea propagation, how it can help. So yes, that gives me something. Ritu, please go ahead.
Yeah. So now you see, actually, if you see the way they are doing the public relations, they are creating the story. Is right now the washing machine companies, they talk about giving responsibility to the men also. They do not focus on women. They do not speak about women using the washing machine, but they definitely show that men are using the washing machine. So I think it's a very right kind of a thing. They give focus on the automatic washing machines and how men are comfortable using the washing machine, how men are comfortable doing their responsibility towards the domestic cause. So it's a change in the idea. Initially, the target audience of all the washing machines were women. Now the target audience is not the women in the family, but the men in the family. So I think that I really love this kind of campaigns which are created. And, most of the time they do not talk to you that you should buy the washing machine, but they talk about the equal responsibility in the house. I mean, equal response, men and women sharing the equal responsibility, but nowhere they are making a sales pitch, but they are selling the idea.
What a wonderful idea, because that really is awesome. And I just think and visualize kind of public relation campaigns which is being done. Though today there was a little glitch while recording, but as usual, this is a very wonderful discussion regarding public relation and using this public relation in idea propagation. So Ritu will be meeting again with some more thought-provoking idea next time in public relation. Till then, bye-bye and you take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, and we see each other again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Friends, welcome to Akulmek Live. I am Kanchan Verma, and today we are taking you to a wonderful city. And to discuss this, we have a special guest on this show. So stick around to this episode till the end. You will get more information and you will enjoy this show. Welcome back, friends, and today we have Mr. Sitesh Srivastava, who is an IT professional, is closely related to radio broadcasting, and today he will be taking to a wonderful city yet again. So without wasting any further moment, I would like to welcome him. Welcome to the show, Sitesh. How are you doing today?
या कंचन, हमारा नाम भी सूरबा भोपाली है वही नहीं है?
Oh my God!
You must have guessed it.
Oh my God! So we are going to Bhopal. Oh, lovely, a city of lakes, man-made and natural lakes, right? I guessed it right.
Yes, Kanchan. How are you?
I'm fine. So let's know more about this wonderful city, which is 16th largest city of India.
Oh, great. That's great. Yeah, I have some very fond memories of Bhopal and I want to go back to the city again and again, Kanchan. This is very interesting, Kanchan. And I sometimes even are impressed. I'm impressed to know that this is also called Begum's Bhopal because it was the princely state between 1819 and 1926. It was ruled by 4 Begums, and that was such an interesting thing during the British suzerainty in those days. Four Begums: Qudsiya Begum, Shah Jahan Begum, Kai Khusru Begum, and Sikandar Begum. And it is another interesting part about Bhopal is that in 1947, after independence, I think Mr. Nawab Hamidullah, he actually decided to remain as a separate unit, Kanchan, just like some other princely states. we also know about this happened in Kashmir. And during that time, agitations started, and Indian government had to intervene. Sardar Patel's home ministry had to intervene. And only in 1949, 30th April, Bhopal state was accepted under Union Government of India. Colorful history, though it pales in comparison to other more popular histories around around the independence of what we know about Kashmir, Lucknow, and Hyderabad. But Bhopal state is an amazing place. Bhopal state, now it is the capital of Madhya Pradesh, the heart of India, and because of the rules of the Begums, the city has some beautiful waterworks, railway station, postal system, and the municipality which was instituted in 1907. Have you been to Bhopal, Kanchan?
Somehow I missed this city because I went till Indore, but somehow I was not able to go to Bhopal. But that is again in the wish list, and time and again every week you come and tell us about the wonderful cities of the world, and in that process I always, while talking to you, think that now it is over, too much of social distancing, I must plan a visit to all these cities which we are talking about. Yes, so what we are talking about Bhopal, and what are the places we can or I can visit?
Well, Bhopal is a tourist's delight, not in terms of the popular tourist places that we know, but it is a tourist delight from the perspective of interesting lakes around the city. Upper Lake and the Lower Lake, and in between there is the Bhopal city. One is the old Bhopal city, one is a new Bhopal city. And the old Bhopal city has got all the old world charms of the bazaars, the galleys, the alleys, and the markets, and the smell of the biryanis, just like your Hyderabad, Kanchan. And the new city of Bhopal showcases about the modern development, some good malls, some great infrastructure, architectural wonders. So it's a place where you find the old world, medieval world, and the modern world all together at one place. It's also a city with a great Hindu-Muslim fraternity, brotherhood that is seen in the city. Because of Bhopal's connection with the Begums, as I said, and also the founder of the city, somebody called Dost Muhammad Khan, who was in the armies of Aurangzeb, and after the Aurangzeb's demise in 1707, he came towards the Bhopal region and took up a place over there, and then he helped the local Malwa queen and the Malwa kings, and finally he took up that area which today we know as the Bhopal city. So and also after the independence, it was the second largest state, Muslim-led princely state after Hyderabad, Kanchan. So a lot of great traditions are there, lot of connections are there. For me, it's also sometimes a great Bollywood connection. The in-laws of our mega star Amitabh Bachchan, and also I believe a connection with the Karishma Kapoor and Sharmila Tagore also is seen in this city. So this is an amazing city, great place, great food, good festival, Diwali and Eid, and it's a great place for peaceful life. As you can see in the background, it's a scene from one of the lakes of the city of Bhopal.
Well, I really tempted to go this city because you mentioned about the rich culture, and you also mentioned about great food. offerings which is done at Bhopal. So what are the places that in 1 week a person can cover once he plans to visit Bhopal?
So, Kanchan, Bhopal is very, very well connected within the India's railway network, within the air network. It has, Bhopal railway station, the Habibganj railway station, that is also the headquarters of the Western Central Railway, and Raja Bhoj International Airport. So, well connected, the heart of the city. Sometimes I feel that given the threats we have from our neighbors, why don't we have our one of the capital in Bhopal? It's safer from all the places that we currently know. And somehow I feel it is even safer than Delhi, especially from the military perspective. Great places from the, Indo-Islamic architecture like Tajul Masjid, Taj Mahal Palace. They are like Indo-Islamic and the European styles. My favorite place, Kanchan, is Bharat Bhavan, which is a cultural headquarters, you can say, for Madhya Pradesh. It has got a cultural center, it has got auditorium, amphitheater, and lots of theater and the film festivals happen at Bharat Bhavan. A very, very favorite place. Then there is a one Vihar National Park is there, and one must also see some of the great temples in and around the city. And this city never fails to impress at how this city lived through the volatile periods of history during the Mughals, during the Deccan Wars, during the British Empire, and still the city feels very, very peaceful, very, very rooted in the traditions. I also remember one thing, one place called Rashtriya Manav Sangrahalaya. So it's a kind of a museum for the humans. Bhoj Talab, largest man-made lake in India. Only city to be ruled by the Begums of Bhopal for over 100 years. And it is the city of lakes for its natural and artificial lakes, Kanchan. So believe me, you will never get bored in Bhopal.
Definitely, when you mention about the rich culture, I'm sure I can really visualize the kind of people on day-to-day basis, how they react to the tourists and how the strong connections they have with each other in the city. And I can very well visualize because I've seen it in Lucknow. So that is something which I really appreciated. Now, yes, Rasgulla is one of the favorite dish in Madhya Pradesh. So what cuisine Bhopal offers to the visitors?
Well, Kanchan, to be frank with you, I'm very, very impressed by the Mughal cuisine that I have tasted in Bhopal. Equally, I am in awe of the vegetarian food, and Bhopal offers a mix of both. And sweets, special sweets which are found in the Madhya Pradesh can be found in Bhopal. It's a great place to have, the culinary part of the, Madhya Pradesh tribals. So tribal cuisine is also available. And therefore, Bhopal may not have been a culinary capital just like Hyderabad, but it has its own unique sweets, vegetarian and non-vegetarian food, and simple food. And one side it is very rich, especially on biryani's side. One side it is as what you call sattvic food that is available across the town, across the 80 square kilometer of the city. Bhimbetka Caves is a great place, 35 kilometers outskirts of Bhopal. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And people also say, the legend says that Pandavas also chose it for their hiding in their exile period. And next time when I go to Bhopal, I will also try to visit Bandhavgarh National Park. Kanchan.
Well, definitely I'll have all wishes that we all plan to go Bhopal and enjoy its culture, its cuisine, and visit places at Bhopal. So what is that one place which you really appreciate so that we can share your experience with our audience?
Well, Kanchan, Bhopal is also a very modern city. It is home to one of the biggest industrial houses in the country, DB Corp, which is Dainik Bhaskar Group, also which is called Dainik Bhaskar Group. It's almost like a 17 billion rupees in business conglomerate. We all have a Manjul publishing house, which actually converted the Harry Potter series in Hindi. It's also a place for Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited plant. There is a Mandi Deep Industrial House, a suburb is there, which boasts something like Hindustan Electrographic, HEG, and Lupin laboratories. And the international airport is, what I understand, is connected via the Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, which is used during the Hajj timings. There are some great institutions in the city. Indian Institute of Forest Management, the only one, I am told, the only one institute of its kind is there. Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS, Bhopal is there. Indian Institute of Information Technology is there. There's a hockey team in the city called Bhopal Badshahs. They play in the World Hockey Series, Kanchan. And mall, DB City Mall, one of the biggest there. One of the biggest marketplaces, New Market. So yes, so Kanchan, for your shopping, sari shopping, jewelry shopping, New Market, and for your high-end shopping, you must visit DB Mall. Important is also to know about the people of this city, Kanchan. A great repertory of these people: Shankar Dayal Sharma, our 9th president; Javed Akhtar, Najma Heptullah, Raghuram Rajan, 23rd RBI governor; Paul Srivastava, professor of management at the Pennsylvania State University, and many more. House to Jaya Bhaduri, home to Jaya Bhaduri. So this place never leaves you unsurprised about itself, and that is the great place Bhopal is. I would like to also think that I think Daulatabad is not very far. The historical place Daulatabad, where one of the Nawabs, before tried to move the capital, and we have a famous Hindi phrase, Dilli se Daulatabad tak. So yes, Kanchan, we must visit Bhopal.
How you?
As I said in the beginning, Kanchan, once again, हमारा नाम भी सूरमा भोपाली है वही नहीं है.
Okay. So that means you are quite impressed by the language and the way, the traditions of the Bhopal. So as usual, it is so wonderful to talk to you. Any last thoughts about Bhopal?
Kanchan, the city is a promising city, modern city, but a peaceful city, Bhopal.
So thanks for sharing your thoughts and your experience with this wonderful city, Bhopal. So we'll be meeting again with some other great city of the world. Till then, bye-bye and you take care.
Shabba khair, Kanchan.